The Denver Broncos offense is about to be scary good, but there is a little bit of a problem, and that is there's no way we can keep all of the talent on this roster. In this video, we are breaking down what are the positional battles to watch as the Broncos are building towards their 53-man roster. There are going to be some cuts of guys who are going to leave this team and go start somewhere else. We're going to break down what are my predictions at each position, how many of each player on the offense are we going to carry, that and way more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it helps me and the algorithm out a ton if you like the Broncos, if you would like and subscribe. Now, before we dive in, it's important to note that a lot of people just assume that the Broncos had a bad offense, right? And our defense carried us to games. But you got to remember that last year, the Broncos averaged over 20 points for the first time in way, way too long. And we actually were the best scoring offense in our entire division. And I'll say that again for those in the back who doubt Bo Nix. Bo Nix in his rookie year scored more points than Patrick Mahomes, more points than Justin Herbert, more points than all of the Raiders quarterbacks who were playing there. There were only 9 offenses in the entire NFL who were better than us last year when it came to scoring the ball. That is a huge point to emphasize to yourself, like, dang, this offense already was a top 10 offense, and we're just expecting Bo Nix to be better in year 2, and we finally have a tight end that he didn't have last year, and we finally are going to have a running back who can get us 100 yards in a game. So the sky is truly the limit here, and when you look at what we did on defense, which I'm going to break down tomorrow, you got to be just like jonesing with excitement here that, oh my goodness, a top 10 offense now has all these pieces, but the fact is that we now have a couple big dates coming up here. Starting on the 27th, 28th, and 29th is the first day of voluntary workouts. It seems like everyone is going to be there. Cortland Sutton's going to be there even without a deal. So you are going to have a chance to finally see these guys lace it up on the 27th through the 29th, again the 3rd through the 5th, and then mandatory OTAs are starting June 10th. So it's like, man, football is back. So what we're going to do is we're going to go position by position, tell you how many of each player the Broncos carried last year, and then what's my prediction or my hope in the years going forward, or this next year. So the last year, we remember the Broncos had 3 quarterbacks going into training camp, and even before the season started, it was a quarterback competition, and then Bo Nix won the job and then won the captaincy, and the rest is history. Yet it was still odd to me that we had 3 quarterbacks on our roster. We had both Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson, and they gelled really well, and their wives all became best friends. They went on vacations together, but I think that is a redundancy you just do not need. If Bo Nix gets hurt, we're in big trouble, and I only want to carry 2 quarterbacks on this year's roster. What's going to be interesting to see is last year we carried 3. We know Sean likes to have 3. He wants that quarterback room to have guys to bounce off of. But with having Davis Webb in there, it's essentially like another quarterback as their coach. He's like barely any older than I am. And so I think let's carry 2. The Broncos do have this guy right here, Sam Ehlinger, who played for the Commanders and the Colts, who's in it, and he's going to be at voluntary OTAs and minicamp, but I'm kind of hoping the Broncos just carry 2 quarterbacks because that would let us carry more of a different position. And here's one of the ones I think we might need to consider carrying more of, and that's running back. Last year, remember, it was crazy when the Broncos cut Samaje Perine, and all of a sudden he signs right away with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's playing in the Super Bowl, and you're like, what are we doing? But last year we only carried 4. We had Audric Estime, Javonte Williams, Blake Watson, and Jaleel McLaughlin. Obviously, Javonte Williams is now a Dallas Cowboy. This year, if I were to predict who I think makes it, I think Audric Estime is going to make it, Jaleel's going to make it, RJ Harvey's going to make it, and then I think that Tyler Bidet or Blake Watson both got to make this team. We've heard Sean Payton speak very highly of both of those guys. And we've seen them actually produce here. Do you guys remember the game we weren't supposed to win here? And here's Tyler Bidet in a very, very hot Tampa Bay, just running the rock like an absolute stud, getting into the end zone. We also need to remember that in that Buffalo game, it was Tyler Bidet who got suited up and played in our playoff game. So I think definitely he's going to make the roster. He's got some shift to him, and then he's also just an absolute stud. He did get this pretty horrific injury right here, and this is where his season kind of got derailed, but he was kind of our primary ball carrier before he had that horrible injury where he got hit and then he was on the sideline and went off in a stretcher at one point. But man, I think he is absolutely different, and I would love to see him make the roster. But if the Broncos carry 3 quarterbacks, then we can't carry 4 or 5 running backs. So this is the position I would like to see him make the roster. Or we've heard Sean Payton talk a ton about Tyler Bidet, and we just remember, we've heard him talk a ton about Blake Watson as well. And we remember what he did at Memphis, and he could still have a ton of pop to him. I think he very similar running back to RJ Harvey. So maybe you hope that he makes the if you cut him and he doesn't make it, that he makes our rookie squad there, our practice squad. And I think this year, with it being the deepest running back draft class in NFL history, there's a lot of running backs who will fall down and make different, what are those called? Practice squad. So let me know in the comments, how many running backs do you think we take? I think we take 4. I would be happy with taking 5, but again, now we're back to break even because tomorrow we're talking defensively, and I don't think we can carry any less at any position than we did last year. So here's another one where I want to carry more than we did last year, and this is where we're starting to run into that problem. Remember last year, Tim Patrick didn't make our 53-man roster, then got signed with the Detroit Lions and played in the playoffs. I think he scored a touchdown in the playoffs. That really hurt to see that happen. So this year, last year we had Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, who is no longer with the team, Cortland Sutton, and Devon Vele. All of our rookies last year, I think, make the squad again. So you are a lock with Vele and Troy Franklin. Marvin Mims, obviously. Sutton is a lock. So right there, you're at 4. So you only have spot for 1 more if we carry the same numbers we had last year. So I think the shoe-in is definitely Pat Bryant. And then I think Trent Sherfield is the new special teams gunner that we had to replace who we lost last year in special teams. So I think he's going to make the roster as well. So now you're already 1 up of what we had last year. And we're not even mentioning these 2 guys who are UDFAs, who Sean Payton is wildly high on, and that's a guy out of North Carolina Central and a guy out of Toledo who's just different skill sets. I think Joaquin Davis is our 6'4" dude who's got a RAS score off the charts and can jump out of any field house or gym he's in. And then Jerwan Newton is an absolute burner, and you could see him as like a potential return man. So if we carried if one of those guys made the roster, you are now talking about being 2 up on the number of guys that we can actually have on the squad. So let me know in the comments, how many receivers do you think make this room? Now we're going offensive line, and again, we're in a position where I want to carry 1 more than we did last year. And so obviously all the starters, our offensive line was one of the top paid in football and also the top producing in football. So I think all those guys, you run it back. And then here's where some people are saying that, like, oh, do we maybe cut Alex Forsyth? I don't think that's going to happen. He was the one who got blown up on that block field goal. I think all of these guys make it, but then I also think Sean Payton is really high on both of these former Georgia offensive linemen. One of them here being Clay Webb. He was the one who was embroiled in a federal lawsuit over that bullying situation. His name has completely been cleared. If that was not the case, like if he was not under federal investigation, he probably would have been a early day 3 kind of guy. They were saying like a mid-round offensive lineman. He's an absolute stud. And then Xavier Truss played 2 years on the offensive line of a national championship contending Georgia Bulldog team. So I think both of these guys are animals. I think under Zach Streif's leadership, they could all make the team. And while I love what we have in Garrett Bowles, we know that Father Time is undefeated, and at some point his reign in Denver is going to be over. So I would love to see one of these guys make it. But again, now you're talking, hey, if we keep carrying 1 more of this position and 1 more of that position, and all we've done is carved off one of the quarterbacks, we're going to have to cut massively on the defense, and I just don't think we're in a position that we can do that. So let's try to maybe save us another position here, and that would be in the tight end room. So last year, remember we started the year with Greg Dulcich. It feels like forever ago that he was even a Denver Bronco, and now I think he's a Giant, and it doesn't seem like he's doing much better. But last year we went with Adkins, Dulcich, Kroll, and Troutman. This year massively upgraded in the fact that we now have Evan Ingram, and I think he is an absolute lock to make this team and is the type of tight end we have not had in Denver in a long, long time. And you look at the highlights of him, and it's hard to not just be super hyped of what he can be in this offense. So I think having him on the team kind of removes the need for a Lucas Kroll. Lucas Kroll was like our true like high upside, but really low downside and hadn't played before. That's one of the only things in my time covering the Broncos I could say Sean Payton maybe whiffed on a bit, was like last year at training camp, Sean Payton made that joke about Lucas Kroll saying something like, hey, everyone's looking at their media sheet and saying, who's number 85? Well, you're not going to need to know who's 85 for long. And most people in the NFL don't know who 85 is. So I think having Evan Ingram removes the need for a Lucas Kroll. So I could see him not making this team. So you just swap out Evan Ingram for Lucas Kroll. But then it's like, I'm thinking Adam Troutman is a lock to this team. Adkins, either Nate Adkins or Michael Burton are going to need to make this team. And then I think because of the fact that Caleb Lohner was that tight end that we were able to get, who people are comparing to a potential Jimmy Graham or Antonio Gates. He played college basketball for a long time and did not play a ton of college football, but we already know that the Patriots wanted him and that the Indianapolis Colts wanted him. So if he does not make your 53-man roster, there's no way he makes it through waivers and back onto your practice squad. So I think these are the four, but you could be in a world where you carry 5 tight ends and fullbacks because we know what Sean Payton thinks about Michael Burton. Last year, we know Michael Burton didn't make our squad because Sean Payton wanted to do that thing where you signed him to our practice squad and then you activated him for the minimum number of games. So maybe he plays that same game that he did last year and it doesn't bite him in the butt. But it's going to be crazy to watch. Let me know which of those position groups you think I'm right or wrong on. And Broncos Country OTAs are here. Football is back. We're back. Broncos Country, we got a ton to Bo-LIEVE in. My kid's moving my basketball. Sorry.